Terrorism, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Intro. The term was first coined in 1794 during the French Revolution, and it was used by a member of the London Parliament to describe the armed troops of the French government. Since then, government power has steadily increased over time, and with that, so has the radicalist desire to strike fear into the hearts of our nations. Thesis. Like many nations, Australia has unfortunately experienced a vivid history of terrorist efforts, and since the beginning of that history, the country has actively attempted to prevent terrorism. However, these attempts have been proven ineffective. Henceforth, Australia's counter-terrorist efforts require more attention. Topic 1. An ineffective hyper-reaction. September 11, 2001 was a day that shocked the world. In response to this event, government powers around the world increased security and strengthened laws. However, no response was quite as intense as Australia's. Commonly considered a hyperreaction, the Australian government strengthened, revised, and enacted 48 laws following the tragedy. This may seem like a justifiable cause for such action, but it was evident in statistics that these new laws were not performing as intended. In fact, more attacks occurred over the 16 years following 9/11 than over the 40 years prior to the tragedy. Topic 2. Limiting freedom. In addressing an issue as socially complex as terrorism, we must ask ourselves, what do the terrorists want? Australia's process of preventing terrorism has, in theory, limited freedom and restricted human rights. The government is, in a sense, forced to siphon power from their people in the case of these attacks. If terrorists aim to spread influence on major political powers, then how have our laws really done anything to prevent this? Topic 3. Change is necessary. Former efforts to counter terrorism worldwide have led to more tension between the opposing political powers. For example, in 2013, the US attempted to hasten terrorist efforts by launching drone attacks on a radical Afghani town. These attacks have proven to be destructive both physically and socially, deteriorating social cohesion between Afghanistan and its neighboring countries who attempt to de-radicalize it through education. Not enough has been done to change this physical approach, especially considering its temporary solution to a growing issue. Closing, a proclamation. Australian terrorism persists as a common threat to the security and freedoms of Australian people. This threat undeniably requires a greater amount of attention if we desire to see a future of peace and security. Waging a war of ideas instead of a war on terrorism itself is a theory that might just stand a chance in extinguishing the ever-burning flame that is radical extremism. Maybe got in that first try. Let me see.